I think motivation is overrated. I think motivation isn't what we're chasing. I think discipline is what it's about. And a lot of what I've aimed to share today is how do you operate regardless of how you feel. What if you could control your thoughts? What if you could control your feelings? That I spent the last 7 years investigating, and today I'm going to share what I found. Well, my mission is to help ambitious professionals lead a purpose-driven life by overcoming the obstacles that are standing in their way. And more often than not, we're actually the ones that are standing in our own way. Because what happens is we tend to pay attention to what other people think of us instead of what we think of us. We tend to put the opinions of other people in front of the opinions that we have of ourselves. And what that does is it prevents us from progressing in our lives, in our careers, in our relationships, and in the areas where we have control. And so I'm going to share with you what stress management is in my experience now. Because it's not stress elimination. We're humans. Stress isn't going away. It will always be a part of your life. So the question becomes, how do you manage that stress? It's not how do I eliminate that stress. The better the question, the better the answer. At the end of the day, how we look at the world is a choice. And choices are within our control. I didn't know what my purpose was for the longest time. But when I reflected on how I started to figure out what my purpose is, it came down to one thing. How do you give? How do you give with your time? How do you give with your energy? How do you give with your money? And so in my experience, the best sides of who you are exist on the other side of the hardest things that you've ever done. The more you seek out adversity, the more you seek out doing hard things, the better you get to know yourself. And so when I talk about purpose through service, you start to see things a bit differently. And so a great way to figure out what you want your purpose to be is through a concept called intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is something that you would do even if you were paid $1 billion not to do it. Take a second and think, what's something that you do every single day that someone can't pay you $1 billion not to do? Because there's at least one thing. In my investigation of peak performance, I have an optimal performance. I have come across a few realities that have been difficult for me to struggle with. And the first one is that balance is a lie. First question I get with everything I do, how do you balance? I do not balance. Any high performer that I have ever interviewed does not balance. It's not a thing. Focus is a thing. How you invest, how you over-index. What's the thing that you're going to go all in on? What's the thing you're going to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning doing? What's the thing that, again, no one can pay you $1 billion to stop doing? What's the thing that you're going to triple down on? Most of our lives, we spend thinking that when I'm done with school, I'm done learning. But the reality is, it's just the beginning. School gives you the tools to learn how to learn. So the third hard truth is that you're never there. There's a great phrase that I love. Fitness is a journey you start and no one should ever finish. The same applies with learning and knowledge and improvement. You're never fully there. You can always improve, and embracing that kind of mindset, understanding that it's okay not to know everything. In fact, you shouldn't know everything. Part of what makes you smart is that you have enough humility to understand you don't know everything. Because the second you do, you're done. Why would anyone want to work with you? The fourth harsh truth is that you are responsible for your life. You could outsource blame to your parents, your friends, your teachers, to anyone that you want, to the president. The reality is you're responsible for your life, nobody else. And the fifth harsh truth is you do not have time. Everybody tells us, don't worry, you have time, you're young, you'll get to it. I'm going to debunk that right now. You do not have time. You got to act like there's a sense of urgency. You got to operate with a sense of urgency and intention. Because if you don't, someone else is going to take your spot. And if you're okay with that, then maybe you don't want the thing as bad as you think you do. But embracing these 5 truths, in my experience, has lit a fire under me, has put me in a position to achieve some pretty cool things that I talked about at the beginning, and I'm going to continue to share with you, that I share humbly with you, and also open up a world that realizes this is just the beginning, and there's something liberating about that. Next, we're going to talk about the Inspired Action System. The Inspired Action System is a system that I designed to help people overcome obstacles and lead a purpose-driven life. We're going to start off with awareness. There's two different types of awareness I want to focus on: situational awareness and emotional awareness. Self-awareness is the ability to understand your triggers, your behaviors, who you are, why you do what you do. It means that you have an understanding of your reactions and behaviors, and you take an intentional approach to understand why you respond to certain things. Values. What do you stand for? Understanding your values helps you align your behaviors. When you know what you stand for, you can add value to anyone or anything in the market. Defining your core values ends up being your roadmap for success. The more clarity you have on what you stand for is based on what you do. So instead of saying, I stand for family, I stand for integrity, I stand for wealth building, the question is, do you lie? Do you hang out with your family? Are you actually taking care of yourself? Values are about what you do, not what you say. So if you want to know what you stand for, look at what you do. Let's talk about the three pillars of the Inspired Action System: perspective, presence, and control. Perspective. Three main elements here: visualize, values, set new standards. Visualization is about understanding who you want to be. Who do you see yourself as in the future? So even though you're not feeling great, are you still going to be the kind of person who wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning? The question is, are you living up to the opinion that you have of yourself or how you feel in the moment, or are you living up to your standards? So when you focus on a conscious objective, it means that you understand the outcome and the consequences of the thing that you're trying to do. So if you want to hit someone and you hit them, it was on you. The same thing can be true if you want to accomplish a goal. Purpose, we've talked about, and accountability is the very simple concept of keeping your word to yourself. We're going to talk about control very quickly. Control is about building habits that help you acquire skills, to help you achieve goals cultivated by intellectual curiosity and how you design your environment. Discipline is about routine. Routine is about following things and programming your behaviors in a way that allows you to show up again regardless of how you feel. So if you're able to show up and put yourself in a position to go through these routines, you'll find yourself accomplishing things that you didn't believe that you could. I did a 58-mile ultramarathon. I ran for 10 plus hours straight. We raised over $29,000. This was the hardest physical thing that I've done in my life, and I'm very grateful to have accomplished it. Part of the experience around this is that it helped me cultivate resilience and grit. These are important attributes to embrace in any endeavor that you want to take on. Resilience and grit are the cornerstones of growth. So when you understand how to cultivate these things, again, by taking on the concept of doing hard things voluntarily, your life changes.
If balance is a lie, then where does that leave burnout, or the concept of burnout?
There's this concept called mental aid stations. Mental aid stations can be as simple as watching your favorite TV show. But I find that that's not really the most effective way to cultivate a mental aid station. A mental aid station is about being present and engaged in the things that you're doing. So if you feel like you're experiencing some form of burnout, go for a walk, no distractions. Go to sleep earlier. If you find that those are too simple for you, then I would challenge you that maybe you're getting a little bit too much dopamine in your life. So what that means is you're seeking instant gratification. Instead of making space, like going for a run and doing something difficult, you have to realize that your bandwidth is about increasing your work capacity. You increase your work capacity, right? All of these things that I've talked about doing, I got a kid at home, I got another one on the way, I got a full-time job. I could sit here and tell you all the different things that I've done, and you could say, wow, impressive, admirable, how does it help me? The reality is mental aid stations are how I go about this. It's a concept from David Goggins originally. And for him, he uses as simple as brushing his teeth as a mental aid station. You have to create more presence in your life. The more presence you create without distractions, less on your phone, less on the social media, more wholesome moments like walking, more wholesome moments like meals with people that you care about, deep, meaningful conversations, that's where the line is. The line doesn't exist. It's about you establishing certain routines in your life that allows you to increase your work capacity. And you increase your work capacity by increasing presence in your life.
Thank you.